Director Reynolds.
Here.
Vice President Michelson.
Chris, say yes.
I'm here. Yes, I am here.
President Muller.
Okay.
We're here. The full board is in attendance this evening. So I believe the Pledge of Allegiance we had in our closed session, but would you like to do one more? For,
I think in honor of our veterans.
I'll be honest with you, the other day they had a ceremony, but a lot of people didn't know the Pledge of Allegiance.
I remember stumbling on it one day.
I had to write it 25 times.
Yeah, I bet.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, Coastside County Water District. We still have our pledge of
Question
allegiance.
is great.
Proud of it. So at this time, I will call for public comment, please, for the general meeting here. At this time, I see no requests for speaking and public comment. So we will move on to the consent calendar. And that's the first item, approval of disbursements for the months and claims. I had the privilege with great assistance from our staff, financial individual. I believe Katie helped me with that to make sure everything's in order. So from that item there, all is in order from my perspective. For this board to accept. So moving on, anyone else have any comments?
I can make a motion that we accept the consent calendar.
Second, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent calendar? If not, we will call for a roll call vote, please.
Director Coverdale.
Aye.
Director Philman.
Yes.
Director Reynolds.
Yes.
Vice President Michelson.
Yes.
President Muller.
Yeah, so ordered and meetings attended, item 5 here. I don't know if anyone's had some more meetings here, excuse me. I have not attended. Otherwise, we can move on to item 6, general business, please. So let me get to it here. Okay, here we go. The first item will be our general manager, Mary, making a comment there. And we will go ahead and start with this agenda item, please.
And I am going to defer to James on this one.
Okay,
Board members,
thank you, James, for being here.
this is the Medio and Magellan crossing that I discussed with Glenn. We have a new technology that we sent Darren off to the AIDS conference and said, find a pipeline or a rehab product. And a lot of the pipelining products will not handle the pressures at these crossings. One's across Medio Creek, one's across Magellan across Highway 1. We had some issues many years back with Magellan blowing out there. So we need to capture both those projects. Darren came back from conference with a product called Primus Line. We shared it with Glenn. We got the engineering wrap out. Darren even went to Truckee and watched them pull 1,400 linear feet across Highway 80 with a pit in the middle where they pulled straight through and chopped it and had to put a T in. Darren was really impressed with the installer. We wrote a tight spec, so the installer that did Truckee is going to be the sub for this project as well. We were very pleased to get 7 bids. Engineer's estimate was 402. Low bid was Golden Bay at 308. I haven't seen as many bidders show up to any of our projects in the 6 years I've been here. So I think that indicates what's going on in the spring as far as contracting goes.
Yeah, that was going to be my question too. This is, they seem to be hungry right now.
Yeah, exactly. So it was exciting because we also had another bid opening on the same day, which I'll be talking about next. So it's a good bidding environment for us right now. People are hungry for spring work. And we've worked with Golden Bay before. So we're requesting you authorize the general manager to contract with Golden Bay for 308,805 to put this liner across Magellan and across the Medio Creek pipeline crossing. And again, it's a folded up liner that's got Kevlar They chop the pipe, they clean it out, they camera it, make sure there's nothing that's gonna cut the liner. They pull it through and then they hit it with air and it expands. And it's not flimsy like hose. Like once it expands, it's hard to collapse it again.
There's no, I mean, how about the composition of it? Are there any chemicals that 10 years from now will be found to be toxic or?
I think, one of the things that I look at in the industry is new technology that's kind of leading edge where it goes wrong.
Yeah.
And this is my take on it was this is the third evolution of slip lining a pipe. So there's been, I've participated in 2 other predecessors that are different ways of doing it. And this one has addressed the shortcomings of the preceding methods. And I was impressed with the contractor and the discussion about the routing we were doing and what it would work for the job sites. You remember when we did the crossing by Main Street Bridge that we had fairly significant easements we needed. And these are really small accesses. And the material I'm really impressed with, and I think the pricing is outstanding for what we're getting. If we compare this with alternative technology, the cost we would be spending, I may be wrong, but we would, in my opinion, we'd be adding $1 million to this. Is that about right?
Sure we would.
Pretty close.
And-
We had the jack and bore under Highway 1
Yeah,
and then do HDD on the
Yeah.
other creek.
this is,
And we got to do an NOE because we're going inside the old pipe.
Before, lifetime warranty, and if there's the composition of it, is there anything that, anything toxic or that?
Goes
no,
all through the NSF 61 required testing,
Yeah, which I'm sure.
validation. And it's rated for like 800 PSI.
yeah.
It's a good product and I don't see why it wouldn't last 7,500 years.
The other thing, Chris, is that this pipe material, one of the things that I was really concerned about, this pipe material can be, if there's a void, but there isn't, but if there was a section where the original pipeline was missing, this material is rated as a standalone pressure pipe, irrespective of the fact that it's got a liner on the outside or not. And so that gave me real confidence.
Wow. Yeah.
And the 2 crossings are, shall we say, regulatorily challenged, both with the creek crossing and with the Highway 1 crossing. And I think the solution that the team at Coastside has come up with, literally to be saving $1 million on projects that we know are real problems for us. I'm really impressed. And so they have my full endorsement on this.
Well, thank you, staff, for this presentation, and also thank Board Member Reynolds for his professional experience in this too. It's very valuable for all of us. Yes, Director Coverdell.
I had a question. I remember when we were messing around with an idea like this along 92 of slipping a pipe into some pipes that were having issues. Is there some reason we wouldn't?
One condition or kind of shortcoming is you can't have services unless you go to a T, bolt the hose back together, and then have a special fitting. So it's got to be a straight shot. It can have 190 in it so they can get the camera in there. But other than that, it's not something you want to put on where you've got meters coming off of it. Where some of the products you can, they'll go in with a robot, cut them back open. But yeah, you can't have services that come off this.
Cool.
And we expect that 92 pipeline is going to have a lot of wooden plugs in it from the old days.
Yeah.
So it might be kind of like an Iron Maiden, and they're going to have to go in and cut all those out because it's got to be nice and smooth. So they camera it after they cut it, they clean it out, and then they camera it and make sure there's nothing sticking out that can poke a hole in this liner.
Cool.
It would be hard to shove a knife through this liner. It's really rigid.
Wow.
And it's engineered for the application. So depending on the pressures, depends on how much Kevlar they'll put inside the liner.
Well, I hope they make it in small diameter. Maybe they could insert it in some of my arteries someday if I get a little blockage.
It make me a
You never know.
I'm happy that, it's great that we had seven
7 contractors bid on this, and that one thing was surprising to me was the range of the bids.
Yeah.
And the estimate was somewhere in the middle. So what is your view of the fact that it's quite as lean as it is? I assume you know these guys and they've done this before, et cetera.
I know most of these bidders.
Yeah.
I think sometimes they just throw numbers out there. I'm not a contractor, I'm not an estimator,
B&B
but
is slumming and they threw out a high number. This is a small job for them. That was interesting.
I was surprised they showed up. So I think there's also, there is that split of bids. People throw numbers out there, and if they're a big firm, that's what it's gonna cost them in terms of overhead. They got big buildings, big equipment, and high salaries, but I just think that this is just indicative of what the market's doing. And I also, there's conditions in the bid spec of you need to have experience with this product. So I think there's also some interest, this is kind of a feeling, in this product. And these contractors want to have experience with this product so they can bid on other projects like this.
I think you touched on it there very briefly, but right on. As I understand in the construction world, with the interest rates the way they are and the cost of doing business, the contractor world's getting a little squirrely worried about the future work out there. So maybe that's another reason why we have some.
Yeah, and we confirm with the EKI that they're seeing and hearing the same stuff that we're
Thank you.
suspecting is going on right now.
Thank
It's
you.
good time to put things out to bid.
Good for us.
So I move
Absolutely.
that we approve this.
Hey, would you go ahead, please, and read it?
You want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Oh, I'm all the way to Andrini, I better back it.
No, Director Coverdell will be making the motion.
What you want me to do it? No.
Yeah, why don't you do it? You're right.
I recommend we authorize the general manager to enter into a contractual agreement with Golden Bay Construction Inc. for $308,805 to construct the Magellan Avenue at Highway 1 and Media Creek Pipeline Rehabilitation Project.
And I'll second, I don't have to say.
There you go.
So we will call for a roll call vote.
Director Coverdale,
Aye.
Director Feldman,
Yes.
Director Reynolds,
Aye.
Vice President Michelson.
Yes.
President Moore.
Aye, so ordered, full majority voted, and thank you, professional staff for looking at these new directions of, saving the district money for, just not digging a ditch and throwing in a new pipe now, so.
We appreciate this work. We really do.
No, good job, thank you, and we go on to the next item. That'll be, for item B here, and, the agenda item, Mary, I think, or do you want James to handle it?
I will let James handle this one.
Yeah, because this one is quite interesting, which we can't drive down the road, the street, around here too much, but a lot of valves in the world of water, correct?
Yes, and when something's leaking and a main blows out, there's never enough valves.
So we'll go ahead, James, please, and make your presentation.
Certainly, this is a project that Darren and the distribution crew came up with. We can replace a valve here and there, but once it adds up to 10, 15 valves, it makes sense to go out to bid and have a contractor do it while we work on other things. So this captures quite a few valves over in the Myrtle Street area. I'll say Lorraine, excuse me, and a valve up in Miramar. And this is also eliminating some main that goes essentially, it looks like it's in the alleyway between Myrtle and Grinnelly. It actually captures the next alleyway up. I forgot to circle out my apologies. But this main, I went out there with Darren today. It's on underneath the fence, real close to a foundation. So EKI modeled it before we eliminate a main. We always have EKI model it to make sure that we're not going to adversely impact fire flows. So EKI put this project together. Again, we got some very competitive bids, and I think it's a good little project they put together. The low bid was Andrini Brothers at $199,910. Engineer's estimate was $231, so not as low as possible. Is not the difference is the other one. And as you see, we got a whole variety of bids, various prices from some pretty big firms. So I think it's a really good project. It gets us out of a lot of liability being under fences and backyards and near homes foundations. And it's, one of the valves is leaking and we just didn't want to go out and do only one when you got a broken one next to it. So it's seeping. So I think this is a good project, so we're asking you to authorize the general manager to award to Andrini Brothers for 199,910. And I want to also share that we have given John an attaboy for getting good estimates and making sure the bids come in lower than his estimate. So he's spot on these. Any questions?
I just have a comment because I know over the months of almost a year, there's been a lot of concern about that little leak down in that area too, on the road down there. Would this have any impact there? Is that?
The one that's coming out of the valve can, I saw it today.
Okay,
This
so
is capturing it.
it is part of
It's kind
that.
of one that prompted it.
Okay.
We were looking at it and saying, are we going to fix this? And
Okay.
Darren's like, well, that's broken and that's broken. And
Yeah,
so when you get it together into a little small project like this, it saves a lot of money to do it all at once.
right. So because people over the months have always said there's a little leak.
Capture it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So for the uninitiated like me, this means that if one of the services in that area broke, somebody's,
Well, it depends where it breaks.
then you'd have to shut the valve someplace far away from this
Yes.
location. I'm
If we didn't do
talking
this
15
project,
valves that aren't working,
they're not all in the same neighborhood. It's not like you
Okay.
have to
but you would have to
shut off
go
everything
elsewhere to
and
shut off
one.
a main. That wouldn't be the most efficient way to do it because these valves are not operating correctly.
Right.
So to replace all these allows you then to be much more efficient when you fix things that are broken.
Yes,
Is that correct?
that's correct.
We can better isolate.
Huh?
We can better
Isolate.
isolate.
Yeah, right, yeah. So
Less customers
this is an
impacted when we do work.
inducer and has to be dealt with, so we keep our people working the most efficient. I just want to make sure it's.
Yep, you're spot on.
Very good. So I'm
I'll make a motion. I
Okay.
make a motion. I make a motion that we authorize the general manager to enter into a contractual agreement with Andrini Brothers Incorporated for 199,910 for the Myrtle Street and Second Avenue valve replacement project.
I'll second that.
yes. And
I have a comment.
yeah, we got discussion. Go ahead.
I thought the most interesting thing was the swing with Andrini and Golden Bay.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it amazes me after 45 years
Right.
as a contractor is when it's publicly bid projects. It's just phenomenal to me how the numbers move around. And there isn't really a clear pattern.
Right.
And I find it to be so incredibly amusing because you don't know if they're buying projects or, they really have an inside connection. They understand it better. And so it's a wonderful process. And it's really nice when you get to see a range like that. And I think what I would compliment you guys on is doing a really good job managing change orders. Because what I don't like about public bidding is you'll often see a low bid and then you'll see a whole bunch of makeup
Yeah.
change orders. And I think that we've always been really strong as a district. I'm emphatic about it. And I think that,
Oh, I think the word's out. You don't come to CCWD for change orders.
but I think it's important because it is an environment that's typical. And so, I appreciate it when Andrini's low bid because I think they're incredibly honest.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they've done so much work for us and, their integrity is at the top. So it's sad when you see them lose by a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And I think Golden Bay is a wonderful firm. I've watched them for years, but it just blows me away. I think it's so interesting.
Director Reynolds?
Yeah, the comment I wanted to make is it's important for everybody to note that we're saving for almost $500,000.
Yeah.
This is really impressive. And normally I'm cautious when I see such a range in bids, but we know that the contractors who are the low bidders are reputable, high quality firms who are going to do a good job by it. But I'm really pleased we're saving that much money. That's really wonderful to see. And it's important to remember because when we were bidding jobs 2-3 years ago, this was going the other way. We were paying over our engineer's estimate and it was kind of painful. And so I think that it's important to remember that it's cyclical. It goes up and down. We shouldn't get too excited because I would assume that in 3 or 4 years, we may be paying more than we wish.
Well, thank you. My brief comment is it's very encouraging to see local contractors getting legitimate bids with us, number one. And as we mentioned, comments were made about this firm before, that in emergency situations, they're here, they're local. And they stepped up during the disasters up on 92. On a holiday weekend morning, they're all there. So I would thank all of you for that and staff for looking.
And one last comment, I think when you have a reputation of being a fair agency, and Andrini and Golden Bay know that, they know what they're getting into, where some of these other people might not know who we are. You know, when you're a fair agency and you're treat the contractors well and, you know, draw the line over change orders, they know what they're getting into, so the prices can come down. Because certain agencies that are more difficult, there's a little percentage that they add for that difficulty.
Well, it also speaks to our bid documents. They're very, I mean, we put out very clear and concise bid documents. So the expectation is known upfront.
Yep.
There's not a lot of wiggle room. So it benefits both parties. We know what to expect. They know what we want done. And there's really no gray area. You get rid of the gray area, you can have a great relationship with your contractors.
Absolutely.
I think we pay promptly and we pay well. So I don't think people are waiting for money with this district either. And that makes a big difference. Well, it's not a 30, 60, 90, 120 day, invoicing process. And so I really appreciate the way staff processes are, the things that we're obligated to pay. I think that's really wonderfully done. So I appreciate all that.
Well, I think we better have a motion to approve that.
Director Coverdale,
Well, let me think about now.
Director Feldman.
Yes.
Director Reynolds.
Yes.
Vice President Michelson.
Yes.
President Moore.
Yes, so ordered. The contract will be awarded. Thank you, James, and staff for all the professional guidance they give these bids. We're very fortunate in Coastside County Water District. So, what's my agenda the wrong way here?
That's rate study, item C.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
60.
all right.
It's Mary.
I will take this one.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go for it, Mary.
Okay, so in December 2022, the board approved 6% rate increases to be effective January 2023 and January 2024. The rate adjustments were supported by a water financial plan and rate update study that was published in October of 2022, and which that study utilized the May 15th, 2018 cost of service analysis. So these studies provided the compliance with the substantive requirements of Prop 218. So as the district considers future rate adjustments beyond January 2024, we recommend that we start doing a new study, a comprehensive review and update to the cost of service analysis, particularly since it's been 5 years since we've done, a broader study. So this will, we have had studies since 2018, but they've been that, and this will be a broader, this will have a broader scope. These analyses and studies can take many, many months, 6+ months. And so we really do need to get started. So we met with the finance committee on a proposal that we received from a Water Resource Economics LLC, which actually is a company that was recently formed by Sanjay Garg, and he gave us a proposal for the study. That's been comparable to, I think, Raptelis rates. As you may know, we have been working with Sanjay since 2018. So we're very familiar with our situation and our studies. He also has hired 2 employees from Raptelis, Nancy Fan and this other person, Charles Diamond, and we worked with Nancy on the last studies. So we felt that, it was a great opportunity to work with Sanjay again. He's, I say, very, very knowledgeable. He's written the book, the AWWA M1 rate guide, and he's published. He speaks very, frequently at Aqua. He is up to date on all the current issues. So we are recommending that the board approve this rate study utilizing water resource economics.
Thank you. And I think just a brief comment here. On the 9 Bay Area counties, if we look around the neighborhoods, wherever you're traveling, it's growth, growth, growth. So we better keep up with the movement of all this building in our community too in the future, that we have to look at this rate study very carefully so we can continue to provide good, clean, fresh water for our customers. So I think it's very important to be balanced out there with our rate study.
No, the finance committee, we met with Mary and discussed this. We haven't really much choice. We need to review the cost of service analysis. That's every 5 years is a must-do thing. And so it's not rocket science, and we just got to do it. And we know the individuals involved, and they were good in the past, and they'll be good in the future. And we saw the original proposal was modified slightly after we did our analysis. It was a little more than we felt was necessary for this community size and the way that we set rates. And I think actually I'm pleased to see that he really drilled down and focused on the key things that we had discussed and reduced the cost significantly. So I'm pleased that Mary made that work for us as well. And it's right in the ballpark with what we would have seen from somebody else.
Well, I was really, in the meeting, we discussed it, but I was really glad because Dave Dixon, I think, was the first one to suggest Sanjay. And I remember enjoying working with him on the first round. And then Nancy's been involved in our numbers a couple of times,
Right.
With Sanjay and then with Raftellus.
Right.
And which was really Sanjay's old company, right? Was Raftellus. So I'm delighted because I found Sanjay to be creative. He was very up on all the most current regulations. But I just found him to be a joy to work with. He communicates well. It's pleasant. It's a pleasant way to find out how to comply. Right. And so I don't know, people always talk about, do you want somebody who's a good technician? Well, I want somebody who's the best technician, but it's nice if they have personality to boot. And so, and I appreciate the accessibility with him. You can ask him any question. And I just feel that he's knowledgeable and willing to really try to make it understandable. So I'm delighted. And like Bob said, that he came back with a reduction in services and a comparable reduction in the total proposal. So I would heartily recommend that we move forward with this proposal.
As you can see, his background information in the packet is very
Yeah, I think it's pretty qualified. Although he's not cheap. He's more than any engineer I believe we've engaged. The engineers on top, they get up to 275, 300. I think what was Sanjay, 320 or something.
But the main thing is he accomplishes what we're asking for.
Yeah,
We need to step up.
we're getting the best.
Yeah.
And it gives us, because rate increases, public doesn't, they're not a big fan of rate increases, nor should they be, but I think they need, we need to justify them with science. And clearly he is the man qualified to justify our rate structure.
So I'd like to call for a motion.
Yeah,
first.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with Water Resources Economics, LLC, to provide a water rate study and cost of service analysis at a time and material cost not to exceed $67,960.
Been moved
I'll second it.
and seconded. At this time, we will call, any further discussion on this item? Otherwise, a roll call vote.
Director Coverdale,
Aye.
Director Philman,
Yeah.
Director Reynolds, Vice President Michelson,
Yes.
President Moore.
You know, one of these days, we're gonna come up with,
Yeah.
the chair's gotta say, we're either gonna go aye or yes. We're all together on this, so, we'll go yes.
You want a motion on that?
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
Nay.
Okay, so, that's been approved, so we move forward to another opportunity here, staff, for, this next item on the agenda.
I'm gonna have Jane take this one.
Thank you.
I will say, we're looking at retirements in the near future. Over the next 5 years, we have many positions that could be retiring. So we're, looking at ways to, how, to make sure that we get the best people in the position and be looking for the next generation of Coastside County Water District employees. So I'll let you take this with us.
Thanks for the intro, Mary. So we recently recruited for a treatment operator, and we're pleasantly surprised to have such a pool of qualified candidates. We had trouble getting it down to even 8 people. And then out of the 8, 2 of them were quite impressive, and we had a really tough decision on which one to pick for a treatment position. The person we picked has started. They love the job. They're thrilled to be here, and they're probably going to be a lifer based on the feedback we're getting from that person. I tried to get Mary to hire the second person, and she said, we're not adding an FTE. And then somebody announced their retirement like the next day. So I was like, perfect opportunity. So went to talk to Mary about this person retiring. He's been here for, 20 years or so. It's going to be a big gap. He's one of our best mechanics, very knowledgeable, and he's going to be a tremendous loss, and he's served the district very well. So I discussed this with Mary about this other candidate, and we have come up with the idea that we could have, since we've already gone for recruitment and we're not sure if this person would slip out of our hands or if the next recruitment is going to be very strong, we want to offer him a distribution position. So it's a treatment distribution operator assigned to distribution. And I've kind of done some outreach with this fellow, and he is interested in waiting and hasn't forgotten about us. I made sure he didn't forget about us. He's got a T2D2. He's doing distribution, treatment, a lot of small water systems. He really, the treatment guys really liked him. Distribution guys really liked him. I think it'd be a good fit. And again, we're not adding an FTE. This is just a temporary overlap with this person that's going to retire. When the person retires, this person, the new person, is essentially going to fill that role, at an entry level. Not going to fill the role that the retiree is going to be leaving behind. But it's a temporary, it's a good opportunity for us to add someone that's qualified and can serve us well, and I think has a great attitude and will do very well here. So,
Do we get to know who's retiring, or is that like top secret stuff?
Patrick, does it matter?
If you've got the formal,
Johnny Bruce is retiring.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm just a curious type person, so sorry.
Yeah, I'm glad you let us know, and the timing couldn't have been more perfect, because if we let this
amazing
person slip.
Yeah, that's why
Bummer.
I'm happy about the 4 months of overlap.
Right.
Yeah,
That's really, really
amazing.
important.
We, the HR committee met on this
Right.
with Mary and Jim early on. And they presented this, and we made it a little tough on them, actually. Before we said, no, we can't go to an FTE unless we have some definitive statement of retirement.
Yeah.
And so they went and did their work, and we have that in paper and in writing. Given that, we felt then comfortable with making this guy a permanent employee, becoming a full-time, FTE, because of taking that slot. So it wasn't easy to get here, but we agree that this is the right strategy, and that's the reason it's coming in this form.
For naive people, what's an FTE?
Full-time employee.
Oh, an FTE. That means normally you have a rec for an FTE that's approved and open, but this is a special case, but it fits all the proper rules. We talked with legal about it. They said that you're okay, as long as you have, everything is done legally, you have a retirement in hand, you have a person ready to come on board and overlap with them, and then it's fine.
Good.
So you don't come, it worked very well. We thought this was a pretty good strategy.
Well, I'm a BMIA, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's a board member in agreement.
Oh, all right. Okay, I like that. And then just to further explain, hopefully we'll get the offer letter out if you approve. And this person will be starting sometime after the first of the year with the holidays and everything. So it'll be a January. Or
Were they
later.
currently employed? I mean, how?
I don't know if I can.
I would not.
Or,
know.
or in this field, in the field.
Doing water, wastewater distribution,
Okay.
treatment.
Okay.
It manages like 5 treatment systems,
Okay.
small systems. He knows what he's talking about.
Nice, nice.
I'd like to make a motion. We approve the hire of new treatment distribution operator assigned to distribution effective January 1st, 2024. In anticipation of the May 1st, 2024 retirement of a district employee currently serving in the same position.
I'll second that motion. Thank you. Any further discussion on this motion item? If not, the staff report was excellent in the way you mentioned it too about the financial impact. So we did all the legal procedures to move forward with this item. So we'll have a call for a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Director Coverdale?
And did you prefer yes or aye?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you pick?
Well, in my political history was an aye.
Aye.
Director Feldman?
Yes. I'm a yes, man.
Oh, we've noticed that.
Aye.
Okay, Vice President
I have to
Mickelson?
do it either way.
Oh,
Yes, and I.
President Mueller?
yes, this rolls off the tongue.
President Mueller?
I might ask for legal advice on this, but I think I works in all my history.
It's a policy decision for the board.
Did you write up a memo?
So,
So I have an ordinance on iOS.
we can question him at Aqua, Patrick.
Yes. Over a drink.
So ordered, my friend. So we're moving on with the yes, I am.
Thank you. The staff's gonna really appreciate the support.
Oh, no, I think it's delightful. Like,
Good move. Thank
if you
you.
want to comment, I think you made a brilliant decision.
Right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We've, I've been worried about transitioning in the district.
Well, that's
for
one of my big.
25 years.
Yeah.
Just watching, knowing that we've got these local people that are 100% dedicated. How do you replace that? And, the experience, right? The failure or the, running out there in the middle of the night and digging a hole and, replacing the pipe. How do you replace that? And I think experience, there's nothing that equals
Director Reynolds.
experience, So,
Agreed.
I'd like to follow up. I attended a seminar where actually 3 of the staff were present interacting with another water agency. And it was really fun to see how good our guys are and how on the ball they were and paying attention. And I'm really proud, and I think I can speak for the whole board, how proud we are of the team. And I think that both the leadership in upper management has pushed down really high quality, and the team has responded and pushed up and made upper management look really good. So it's seen and observed by the board, and we want you, if you could express to the team that we see what's going on and we're really proud of it.
I'll let them know in the morning.
Thanks.
Well, they make
said.
us look great.
Yeah,
I just thought I would mention, please take this the right way, that Jim said the new operator, she is doing very well in the job. And I thought that was an interesting thing to present because in fact, we have a staff member of our operations organization now, which is not something we've had in the past. I don't know if any of you were aware of that. And number 2, our new director of assistant general manager for administration is a he, which is going to add a little luster to our administrative group, I think. So it shows that we're in the process of
Well, I think if you
New and exciting things.
walk
or not,
in the
I think
front
it's-
door here, I think we meet the equity
No, we're
program
trying to do
quite
the
well.
We haven't-
All right, let's move
We're
on.
covered. I vote aye. To move on to the next, I want to move on to the next agenda item.
Okay,
This is a good one for all of us to work with here.
so in October, the Human Resource Committee asked staff to review the Board of Directors compensation policy. And over the last couple of years, many public agencies on the Coastside have made changes to the board compensation policy. And even one actually even just recently in the newspaper. So that's where we got this discussion was triggered. And it is something where, you know, I think we all recognized board, the board of directors actually participate in many activities beyond just the regular meetings and our special meetings and the advisory meetings. You know, you spend many hours going to training sessions and working with the constituents in the community, you know, in our community. And so anyway, we wanted to revisit the compensation policy. Basically, the compensation policy was last set in October 2006, or ordinance 2006-01, and it was set at $150 per day for a maximum of 4 meetings a month, or $600. And concurrently, the board also adopted this resolution 2006-19 that identified the meetings that the board would get compensated for, or pre-approved meetings. So basically ones that don't require you to come to the board to be approved at the time. They're pre-approved as service rendered at the request of the board. So in considering possible changes to board compensation, section 20202 of the Water Code allows the board to increase the per day compensation to the maximum of 5% per calendar year from the operative date of the last adjustment. That would be October 2006. So applying the 5% per year between 2007 and 2023. That would increase the meeting another $120 or $270 per day if you chose that route. Or you can increase the number of days that compensation can be paid to a maximum of 10 days per month. Another option for the board to consider, which we learned from a neighboring water agency, North Coast, that we could also consider either, combinations of two approaches I just mentioned, or we can look, we could also look to broaden the list of pre-approved meetings. This, this could go beyond the list of meetings that you currently, approved. Any attendance at meetings not on the pre-approved list would still need to be approved in advance. So other agencies, I'll say including SAM, soon to be Granada Community Services District with their latest their November meetings, North Coast Water District, Alameda County, they have much broader lists for the approved meetings. So we have, and I've also included in the staff report, you can see the examples of board compensation that between some of the other agencies. So as you'll see, most of the other agencies have more meetings, and perhaps some have greater compensation.
Mary, doesn't some of the districts, or I believe, and Patrick, I think you guys know this, provide health insurance for the board members?
I
So I do know this not off the top of my head, and I think that is true, but I think there might have been some changes in the law
Okay.
that it only would apply to certain board members who are elected at a certain period of time.
Oh, seriously?
But I'm not 100% sure on that, so
Okay.
don't quote me on that, but we could look into that.
Okay, the reason I bring it up is we typically have a board are folks who have the time available. And it means that most of us are older, and health insurance might be something that really helped our board members. And was leveraging the district's ability to get health insurance where an individual might struggle. So I thought that was something that might be thought about or added to the mix. Not that I'm looking badly or anything, but
We can certainly check into it. I believe there are restrictions.
I think-
but-
yeah, and that, of course.
I think that looks, that's a sort of a narrow line of law.
Yeah.
It seems like health insurance, I just.
Plus the range,
They've been having them
the
on
range
Cal-
is pretty wide.
They've been having them
based
on
on
CalPERS,
based
some
on
of them
their
had
age.
CalPERS affiliation too, and I think they were getting away from that. That was felt to be a little bit too, I don't know, Pat, you probably.
Yeah, I'd have to go look into it. I
mean, it's
believe
something to
it
look
might
at.
have.
It never dawned on us in the HR committee to look at that as another.
Yeah.
We're looking at the basics.
Leaders just to do that.
And we were just trying to get data to you guys,
Yeah,
because we had seen this happening.
yeah.
And we asked Mary, what do you think is worth looking into? We saw some raises in rates, the numbers of meetings increasing, and a range of more meetings. And we just felt it would be fair to give you the option to think about it. And we didn't actually put a bogey here. We said, here's some of the things that we should consider, and here's some additional meetings, maybe because Pat presented them to us,
Yeah.
that we should consider putting on. And we sort of created the list from the other lists, because these are things we all do sometimes. Is that right? Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah.
And we were.
Bob, I
It's
think
tricky
you've
stuff.
you've done a good job with this, and I'm surprised to see how much it jumps out at me
Right,
that our maximum number of meetings is really low.
low.
And that is shocking when it's presented this way. And I think that a modest increase would not be out of line, given when you compare with the other districts, that it's pretty reasonable. I think the part that brings my thought to this is that in the past, we've had multiple elections where no candidate presented other than the incumbent. And I think that it's important for the public to understand that this is, and in my opinion, speaking for myself, that when I look at this, I worry about getting candidates to run for the board. And that if it's a job that requires tremendous self-sacrifice, that's going to be even harder to get people to run for the board. So I think that this is important that people understand that we've had multiple elections where no one was interested in pursuing it. And one of the things that we should probably reflect on is what the remuneration, what the compensation is.
Well, I remember the last time we batted this around. It was probably about 8 years ago or something, and I think we were talking about, what would the perception be in the community? Why would you suddenly be increasing the compensation for board members? And I know that from my perspective, I've never done this job because of the money. So the idea that we're going to attract people for money, I hope that isn't the case, because I hope that it's people that are dedicated to the district and dedicated to the community service. And, I've always seen the job, whether I've done a good job or a bad job, as my community service. Now, please don't misunderstand, as a semi-retired person, more money is always, an attraction. There's no question about that. And I do think that when I witness the dedication and the amount of time that the board members put in, I think each and every one of you is to be respected highly. And I think that having compensation that's equitable compared to other districts is more than reasonable. I don't really know that, in my opinion, I'm not sure I like the idea of increasing the number of meetings. But I think that using an increase in just the meeting amount of money to the $270 would be a maximum. Maybe it would be $200, per meeting. And I think 4 meetings is more than adequate. But I don't know. I'm just giving you my opinion. And so I found it to be really interesting because I just remember the last time we discussed this, everyone was really like, "Oh my gosh, we don't want to do that." Think we're gonna get pounded.
Part of the reason for that, though, at that time was that the numbers didn't look this way. The other agencies, we would have been significantly out of sync when we looked at it. Mary did an analysis and we would have been out of skew. I mean, that's why we felt at that time. Since then, it was some years ago.
Yeah, I think
It was like 2019.
Yeah, well, see, so it's been a while. Things have changed. So we believe, I'm sorry.
No.
We believe that it's good to address it. I think personally that adding the kinds of meetings that we can attend, well, when you do your harassment training, you do your ethics training, those should be paid for. If we're doing that, we spent 3 hours doing that. That should be on the list of things that.
Yeah, good, yeah.
But it is not-
That's a couple hours.
It is tedious. And many of these other things, region meetings for people, when you went to an ACMA meeting, you're not recompensed for that. I think that those should be added because we're not going to take advantage of it. We're not going to kill ourselves doing all these meetings. If you go, you'll have the option. So that list, I think, should be appended to the meeting or should be put into the authorization for meetings with approval.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning in that direction also because tonight I put down 5 times that you have all met for different HR, different meetings.
People that aren't on the
Yeah.
committee might be involved. Again,
Yeah,
so
so,
that's one thing I think that's not unreasonable, like, given who's
and
taken that to heart here.
Yeah.
We would be consistent with that.
I
The
would
other thing,
say, personally looking at boosting up the amount of meetings we could attend.
and that's
for
the
that
second thing that
increase.
you want to think about.
Yeah.
We did a research on the number of meetings that on average we attend.
We had 2.
Yeah,
We averaged 2 per board member per month.
Yeah.
And
that's the average. So
We
we want
probably
to go to
should ask,
10. I don't think 10 is appropriate.
we should probably ask our spouses or loved ones because they'll tell you how much time you're.
But if we have the kinds
Another
of
water
meetings,
meeting?
if we have the kinds of meetings we can go to,
Yeah,
and other people are eligible to do some of the things that they're not now eligible for, then 4 would probably be not an unreasonable number. And maybe we thought that 5 might work, but 4 might still be sufficient.
I
And-
like 6.
Yeah.
I think we should. Now,
What do you think?
$100.
You get
$100 to Bosco.
Bosqua,
Yeah, it's only.
but, and then, LAFCO is not a paying board, huh? Or a per diem board.
So $250 a meeting, 4 to 6 meetings.
I thought the worst we should do, the best we should do would be to split the difference between what we have and what the max would be, which is 270. And maybe look, since we haven't done anything for since 2006, 17 years.
Can I
Maybe
talk a
go to-
little, sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt.
tell me-
I just
tell
want to
me.
talk a little bit about the legal
Yeah, we
requirements
just
of
do
the
that.
process.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So there's 3 things that you're considering.
Sure.
Per day compensation, number of meetings,
Right.
and expanding the list.
Mm.
For the first 2, increasing the compensation or increasing the number of meetings, you have to follow the section 20200 process.
Yeah.
And what that requires is calling a public hearing, holding a public hearing,
Right.
notifying it,
Right.
adopting it by ordinance,
Right.
and then there's a 60-day waiting period. So you need to go through that process.
Right.
If you're just going to expand the list, just regular Brown Act requirements, we would do that by resolution. The other thing that you should keep in mind for the compensation, the per day compensation. So the law allows, from the last time, 2006 in this case, 5% per year, not compounded. That's the max. But once you increase that per day compensation, so if you go from 150 to 175, just as an example, when you could go to 270, 175 is now your new base in 2023. You cannot bank those 5% increase.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
So you just need to be thinking about that in the context of this, because, you know, if you go 2 years down the line and everybody's at 250, your baseline is going to be 175 and 5% per calendar year after that. So I just wanted you to be
Yeah, we've
aware
been
of
cheating
that.
ourselves. Yeah.
For me,
Just wanted you to be aware of that
Thank-
process and
for
that.
me personally, it's not been about the money. I'm not here to make the money. It's not, it's not gonna be, significant, to me. And so it's always been, maybe I go to meetings sometimes that I'd like to be paid for that aren't now. That would be nice. And I know that with the average is never probably 2, maybe 3 max sometime, maybe 4 once in a great while. So I, you know, in a way I could live with just adding the list of other meetings and just take my chances, frankly. But again, I don't know that other people coming on the board when there are no, don't come on because they don't like what the pay is. It's because there's somebody in the spot already and they're not ready to jump in and put their name in the hat. It's more because they don't want to file when they know there's an elected man in there who's incumbent. Who's not, that's what happens.
Yep.
There's an incumbent who's not leaving and therefore they have to compete with that.
Yep.
So I don't know, that's my view of why you don't get a lot more.
I think the important part of this,
I just, what's your opinion?
150 is that the deductions are involved there, legal induction,
You mean tax?
yeah,
Yeah,
taxes,
they
yeah.
just take taxes.
So it's not like we're walking away with 150 a meeting, folks, you know? So, but I do think, as you said, you guys have already met, you know, whether you're in the private business or, you know, career business of some sort. I think increasing, a couple, 2 or 3 of the, future, compensation, for different meetings we attend.
Okay.
Like, with all respect, again, you know, just general talking, we looked at the Sharon Heights plant. That was an afternoon session there for us, and it took time away from everyone. And that might have been a legitimate, educational program we went to for the betterment of the Coastside. And then, what's our number, updated number on customer base for CCWD? Where are we at? Kind of on
How
a
many
flat.
customers do we have?
Yeah, I mean,
12,000, 13,000.
yeah,
Well, we have 7,600 communities
yeah,
Connections.
yeah, 7,
and
so,
serving a population of about 19,000.
yeah, okay, so, you know, we are managing this district for a large population.
All those would be in favor of increasing the kinds of meetings we go to. How does that sound?
I think it's a little insulting. We got Granada Service.
You got what?
Granada Services District making 1 night. What the,
No, I'm listening, sure.
these, you know,
Well, no, there are 3 things on the table. Number
yeah,
of meetings.
sewer authority mid coast. I mean, that's. I'd be embarrassed to be on that board. I mean, what a complete and total disastrous board they are.
It's
You said it.
My God, I mean, how many millions have they spent on litigation?
So
I agree with you.
then adding to the list of meetings we go to, you all agree that that would be a reason?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I
we agree there. So that one's a sort of, we all feel like number 2. Again,
Yeah,
the number of meetings.
6.
Okay, what is your?
Does it take a?
Yeah, that'll
public-
take a note.
Publicly noticed meeting
Yes.
to increase it to 6?
Yes,
Okay, well, I think,
Public hearing.
I think we ought.
and the
to-
rate would it
I
take?
think we ought to go to 270, 6 meetings, add to the list, and have a public meeting the day before a rate increase.
I don't think,
You know,
That's what I think.
no, what Chris would?
I just, you know, Ken, I could, you know,
that's not an eye.
there are times I'm proud to be a board member in this community, and there are times I'm ashamed to be a community, be a publicly elected official in this community. And I would hang my head in shame if I was on a school board that is verging on bankruptcy. I would be ashamed if I was a board member of a harbor district that is building a $3 million bathroom that was initially, cost estimate was like 800,000. I mean, there's some real shame in this community. There's some shame going on in this legal battle at Sand, and they're millions into it. Montera may very well lose. There's been no infrastructure improvements. Cost overruns up the wazoo, and right here in our board report. We're doing an $8 million project. You know what our cost overrun is? 1.2%. I would challenge every other board in this community to run their respective districts and or boards to the standard we have set here. This is a standard second to no one.
So you're saying you're uncomfortable that some of the other districts are paying themselves what they do, and you
To
don't
run this
Yeah, no, and
community school district
Sure.
into bankruptcy court?
I'm not disagreeing.
Well,
All right, look,
I think you have to realize there's not one of us on this board that have been approached by customers in our community saying, hey, you know what? I'm not happy with this. We're not happy
I'm
with
just-
that. I'm happy with this. And we respond with staff. And say, you know what? Somebody hit me at the post office.
we
the
did
other
this
day,
to see what
and I
the lay of the
brought back
land
the
was,
stuff. Yeah,
based on what we saw happen.
And Bob, I think
We
you've done a
tried
good
to
job.
do the right.
Yeah.
I think that we should add to our list of meetings that we can go to, but I don't think that 4 is even an unreasonable number of meetings at this point, my opinion. I reached that twice maybe. And I don't think that 150 something I can't live with. I mean, that's me. Having seen all of this, looking at who's getting what, I see that we're closer to the right people with the number now we have, with the North Coast Water District and with some of the other operations that I respect, like Alameda, who's a great big district, and I can understand it getting a bit more. So I'd leave it like it is, except I'd add the list. And that would make it simple because it can be done by resolution. That's my present opinion, unless, there's serious.
I'm with you.
I don't want
Look, where I'm at
to.
is I would have no problem adding to the list. I think we should do that without question. And I agree with you. I think sitting through the sexual harassment training. I've been through the ethics training so
many
often,
times,
and I'm pretty sure I'm behaving unethically in protest because it's the same stuff. But honestly and truthfully, from my humble position, the idea of going through public meetings to increase our compensation or to increase the number of meetings, I'm not afraid to do it. I could justify it for all the reasons that we just heard. I'm very proud of what we do. The compensation that I received in this district, I used it for the allowance for my kids because I felt like the time that I wasn't with them doing district business, I owed them. So they each got $1 a year for each year old they were. And fortunately, the $150 covered them almost the whole way through high school. They were elated to get the money. I felt it was a reasonable way to spend it, but I don't show up here for the money. However, if I got $270 for 6 meetings a month, that would be great. Gas is up to, close to $7 or whatever. And I'd be happy to have that money, but I don't really want to do the public hearing about it. I'd love for the community to say, you guys are doing a great job. We support you in that.
Mm-hmm.
We think you ought to go do it. And then it'd be real easy to get on board.
I think we have to realize
That's a difficult one for me to go for.
we just moved forward with the rate study. I don't think this is a good timing to look at an increase in
I think many reasons why it's not a good time because, the water use is not, a lot of things are going to be changed. There's going to be a lot of interesting things going forward. I'm happy to stay where it is, but add to the list by resolution. That's my view. And I wanted everybody to have a chance to throw their hands up.
I appreciate it, and Bob, I think you've done a good job.
We weren't trying to make this kid force the issue. We're just trying to say, what do you think?
You've done a great job.
I'm less fussed about I think being 175 or 200 a meeting is fine. I think 6 meetings would be fine. And I would definitely expand the list. That's my thoughts. I realize this doesn't really give us a clean path to go forward. This is something we should vote on so we have clear guidance to
What do we have
staff.
to do here?
No, because even if you directed us to set a public hearing on the next agenda, you would still have the flexibility to continue to talk about this. What we were trying to get a sense of was how we were going to put this on the agenda for the next meeting.
Got it.
And it's whether it's to call and set a public hearing at some date to talk about all these 3 things or 2 of the 3 things, or whether it was possibly to put an action item to adopt a resolution that expands the list of service that you've determined is service rendered at the request of the board and is entitled to compensation.
Well, why don't we do that? Because I think everybody's in agreement that expanding the list is a clean thing. We all
Good
agree.
start.
And so why don't we put that on the next agenda that we'll expand the list? And I think maybe in a future date, we
Okay.
could bring up a single item
I like-
of adding the number of meetings. And then at another time, we might look at the dollars as other costs go up
Okay.
and maybe we do that. I think it's a very reasonable way to spread it out and deal with the individual items as they go, because we all feel strongly about the individual items as they are, and there's no need to bundle it for many reasons. So I'm in favor, and I think we should all say yes on this one. Because we did the I thing, right?
No action. We,
No.
we
That was
heard you. We will.
the recommendation.
So the yes doesn't count then.
Well, you know that I is just a yes abbreviated, right? You know that, right? Just wanted to.
And for your future discussion, my recommendation is for the per day compensation and the number of meetings, you got to go through the same process. So I would talk about those
Combined,
together.
yeah. We're gonna do
You
one
got to
thing or
go
the
through
other,
the public hearing process.
Some point forward.
All right.
But right now, we just do the resolution to add the meetings to the list.
Yeah, perfect. Thank
Is that
you.
okay?
I think that gives
Everybody
you
agree to
directions that where we're
You don't
coming
need
from,
to-
are we?
There's no vote on this, right? Just
No, the
instructions.
Yeah, we don't get.
You can always direct us to put this again on the agenda anytime you want to talk about it.
And I really appreciate the work that you've done, and staff's done.
Done, yes.
Accumulating the information. I appreciate it. And you know, I think it's just great to see that we're reasonable also, right? I mean, we're not trying to take advantage of the district either. I think that's.
All right,
Okay, thanks for the.
John, move us on to our treatment plant
Yeah.
number 27.
With a 1.2%.
And we're getting close to really having a ribbon cutting, right there. Down.
Every day we're getting closer. Thank you. And Mary, if you could bring up the slides, that'd be great.
I'm
Whoever's doing that. Update number 27. Filter 4, part of the process that we have to go through with DDW with these new processes is there's a pre-commissioning period for the filters where you basically, I call it circulation filtration. You filter the water, you send it in front of the plant. Once that gets completed, you send the data into DDW and you say, can I please go through a 30-day period where we're making water? So we've hit that on filter 4. We're in the commissioning period. And then right after that, Sean and Todd got the data together for filter 3 pre-commissioning, and we've been approved for 30-day commissioning on filter 3. So moving along, being tenacious with the DDW folks, and they're treating us well as also. So I just want to give you that update. The next one we're going to go after tomorrow is commissioning of the new sedimentation basin. And I think
That's pretty
we're
exciting.
poised in a really good position to do that. And that's really exciting. That's one of the big components of this project. If you could go to the contract data, which is before that, the second sheet. Okay, so I just want to point out, Chris has been mentioning this, we're to approve change orders of 1.2%. There are some potential change orders that are going to come around later that have not come to fruition or completion. So I don't see that percentage getting bigger, but it is going to go a little bigger, but not as big as Yeah, I won't say that. So anyways, I just want to point that out. Remaining value of the project's about $1 million. Ranger's moving along at a steady pace as they're going from filter to filter to filter. And after that, then they're gonna have to do the clear well. So if you could go to the next slide. My computer's acting up. So this is basically the progress that I just kind of outlined. Filter 3 is going through commissioning, filter 4 is on line, they're in filter 2, gutting it and working on the concrete and soon to be doing the under drains. Repetitive process, each filter kind of looks a little different because that's the way construction is. Ranger's getting quicker and quicker at rehabbing these filters because they want to be done just as bad as we want to be done. Yeah. And Sean and Todd are going through the pains of having new equipment with new sequencing, and they're doing really well. I'm very proud of the treatment staff. Will you go to the next slide, Lisa, please? Okay, so then basically we're in filter 2. It's kind of repetitive, like I said. We're going to do the same thing with filter 2 and then eventually filter 1 and hopefully get the set basin online. So I won't bore you with all these details. Next slide, please. Okay, these are some of the pictures that I think speak volumes about this project. This is the settled water pipeline that's at the very top of the pipe gallery. You guys have been there, and as you look up, it's got to be 20 feet up there. This is not stuff I wanted our staff doing in-house, because when I first got here, there was talk of, well, we'll just do this ourselves. These guys are professionals. They're good at it. They're doing safe practices, and they're in precarious positions, you know, all harnessed, doing OSHA applied technologies, and it's not fun work, and they're doing a great job. So I just want to point that out. This is where one of the valves is coming, getting swung in to this guy that's going to be bolting that together. This is filter 4, basically showing this is the air scour line that has been added. This is the second picture on the right. And the new coating with the new pipeline, nice clean water going into it, nice clean water going out. This is the end of the settled water pipeline, third picture from the right. These are some braces that were added once we really Ranger brought to our attention when they're going to pull these valves off. This wasn't really restrained. So HDR helped us come up with a plan, and it is restrained at both ends now, this top pipe. And that was a change order. It happened quick, and we're happy with the design, and we'll safer about standing in there. If there's an earthquake, it's not going to crash down on us. Again, another picture of the guys on top of the settled water pipeline, and these are the brackets for the air scour piping that's going in. And then another one on the lower left. This is the this is the water that's coming out of the filters. They're putting in a T and a couple of mag meters there. It's a good example of how cramped and tough this work is, and these guys don't complain. They're good, hardworking contractors. This is where we can send water if something's going wrong with a filter and we need to send water to the front of the plant. This is the pipeline that'll do it. This is going into our rapid mix. Really nice feature. If the filter goes upside down, we can just say, let's get it seasoned and run it in a circle. This is one of the filters, basically just filtering water. I think that's filter 3. And then there was a minor slide next to the soil nail wall, and Ranger and the staff and HDR worked out a fix, and there's no talk of a big change order on that. They were kind of in an area they shouldn't have been because of some of the soil nails have to be tested before they okay the tension that they're designed. It's basically proving the concept. So we worked it out with the contractor, didn't get into a big fight, and they did a really nice job. That happened last year in the heavy duty rains of the New Year's.
How much soil was disturbed in that?
In terms of yards?
Yeah, because it slid, right?
Yeah, it just kind of slumped. It didn't like go down the driveway. It just, we came in and it just kind of slumped. And we think it wasn't keyed in properly, but I wasn't there when they put it in. So we had a geotech come out and make suggestions, and they observed where we dug, and basically we benched it and filled that in.
So you didn't have to
20 yards maybe slid down the hill. It was small. It was small. So they did a good job on that. Is that the last slide?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm happy to say that they're rocking and rolling up there, doing a good job, and hopefully we'll be done in June or as early as spring.
April, that's what I read.
April. And, you know, trying to be optimistic but realistic.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so I'd rather come and say they got it done early. But they're doing a good job and we're very pleased with the product, and Sean and Todd are exhausted from all the noise and changes, but that's what you get when you do a big project. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to talk about the project. Thanks. Thank you. It's a great investment in the community.
Yeah, thank you. Look forward to that ribbon cutting in the spring. Okay, I think that concludes that information only. Thanks, James, for that. And now we will move on to information also with the meeting format. And boy, let me tell you, everyone's going through a fluff throughout California on this one, right? Legal counsel.
Yeah, I don't know, did you want to start or do you want me to do it?
Well, I can start. So you, earlier this fall, you probably heard, a lot of the press on, some Zoom bombing incidents at city council meetings and, including Pacifica, where, and so, with this, Bosco, recently did a survey of all the Bosco agencies about what, meeting formats the various agencies are using. So we're the hybrid model, right now, and we have tightened up our security, with, but we could allow the public to comment on Zoom or in person. So in surveying the Bosco agencies, of the 23 agencies reporting, 19 agencies are still meeting in a hybrid format, like we are. 2 agencies are meeting in person only, and 2 agencies have moved to a live stream format, which basically allows the public to come in and look at meetings on Zoom, but not if they want to do public comment, they have to come to the meeting. Bosco itself, for the Bosco board, they've gone to a live stream format. So that's at this point, we've been moving forward with the hybrid format, but we want to report out about the state of the Bosco agencies on the topic. So.
Yeah, and all 3 of these options are legally permissible. We would just need to be sure that we appropriately put them on the agenda so the public is aware of them. The one legal wrinkle is board member remote participation under AB 2449. So there's 2 options for board member remote participation. One is the pre-COVID rules where we would have to know in advance and put the location on the agenda. Certainly do that. Hybrid meetings allow for AB 2449 to be implemented, like, for example, the day of the meeting. A couple hours before the meeting, somebody comes down with COVID, they want to participate remotely. Because we allow the public to participate both through visual and audio, the setup is there, and a director could do that, as presuming they meet the AB 2449 just cause or emergency circumstance requirement. You can't just do that if you don't have that set up on the agenda that way. So if you go to in-person meetings, it makes it more difficult for a board member to participate remotely on less than 24-hour notice. And the same would be true for whatever it's called, the live stream. So that's just a little wrinkle that the board should be aware of, but all of them are legally permissible.
Well, the present hybrid's been working okay. We had a while back, but we put controls on it. We have a mechanism to keep it together. And I think that it seems to be appropriate.
Yeah.
We continue that way. I mean, that's my.
Is there any downside to our continuing with the hybrid format?
No, there's no downside, but that would allow for at least some public comment that we would need to potentially cut off if it got to the level of some of the things we've witnessed at some of the nearby cities.
But we have that ability.
We do
Yeah,
have.
we do have
And that,
That's the chair's responsibility, correct?
Chair,
And
whoever's
it goes to
controlling the
staff.
mute button, legal counsel will jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
technically speaking.
and legally speaking.
And
Yeah.
legally speaking.
No, my thought is that the pipe grid gives the opportunity for more of the community to see how we operate. And, why not? So thank you.
So I think that everybody understand that for the future here.
Yep.
So, let's see, James, as many times have you been up and down, we're not paying you by getting up and down.
I think we should get a stool kind of
You're
right.
still, you're still on the payroll, not like us to go to another meeting. But thank you.
you have to listen to me so much.
No, we
We're glad you're
love
here.
it. We love
Me
it.
too. Good.
This is another monthly highlight, so go ahead, please.
Yes, I've already talked about a bunch of stuff that's on here, so I'll
Yeah.
try to be brief. Denison dredging is complete. A lot of sand in that reservoir from the winter rains. Jim Steele kept the whole project moving. Greeny did a great job. Staff did a great job. We're just getting better at it each year. Like I mentioned, new treatment operator started on the 6th. She's loving the job and we're enjoying her and hoping that she continues to grow with the district. October sources, Crystal Springs, Pillarcitos, and Denison. We only use Crystal Springs for Skyline, so that wasn't necessarily needed for drinking water. I'm happy to report that the few of the Pillarcitos wells are currently on. I think we're doing about 300 gallons a minute from the Pillarcitos wells, so that's essentially free water for us. And they squeeze out every drop they can out of that creek, and hopefully we'll get some rain and be turning that up a little bit. Denison's also back on and running, and so we got our local sources happening. New Costa tank has received its first delivery at Nunes. I forgot to mention that on the last one, so that's exciting. We're putting that to use. And it's nice that we can quarantine our new chemical, make sure it's the right stuff before it gets fed into the plant. So that's another big improvement for QA/QC at the plant. The bid openings, we've talked about that. Highway 92, Mary and I are working hard on that. We're at 90% and EKI is moving as quickly as they can on that project. Poplar Street, just down here behind us. That project's gone very well. Darren has gotten lots of accolades and Ryan from the neighbors out there. So we're withholding our good reputation, and some of the compliments I've gotten about Darren and Ryan have just knocked my socks off. So I'm really glad that they're paying attention and taking care of our neighbors down the street there. We're hoping to be done at the end of November. Talking to the city, they're not going to have their project starting until after the first of the year, so it's just perfect timing that we get out right before they start. So we appreciate you guys letting us put in that new pipe before the city does their street improvements.
Yeah, really.
It's a good cooperative project. I'm really proud of it. Happened Bay tank replacement project. The CCWD notice of exemption is in. We're working on the coastal development permit exemption with the city. Just need to get the application over to them and show them the plans. There's a couple of conduits that need to be relocated, but I think we're going to work that out with HDR. We just need to figure out what Verizon wants to do first before we decide who's doing what. So we're working on that, and everyone's Verizon's rep has been really quite cooperative. And responsive, believe it or not. So
Well, that's good.
we have a good contact there. He's
Okay, that's
on top of it. And then San Vicente, we're at 90%. We got some revisions from the design engineer. Staff's looking at it now. And I think this is probably going to be the last rendition of revisions, and we will make sure we meet with the design engineer and make sure it's all the way we want it. If you have any questions, I'd be pleased to talk to them tonight.
Did we, one more quick softball one, did we have to use Miss or Mr. Weed Eater for fire protection this year at all?
Oh, the remote.
That's an ongoing thing, and we like to wait till it gets a little wet, because if you hit a rock, you can start a fire.
I see, okay.
And when we do use that, we always have the water buggy with us, just in case.
Uh-huh.
So we can extinguish, and we have 2 staff members. But yes, we're getting plenty of mileage on that. When you go up to Nunes, it looks like a park. It's so beautifully mowed. And
The machine hasn't suffered any mechanicals or it's been.
Johnny Bruce has had all kind of criticisms being an airline mechanic of, I can't believe they built it this way. So every time we have to fix something like minor little hydraulic lines and whatnot, we make it a little stronger. And we have not had the service tech out once.
Okay. No,
It's
right.
gonna be expensive because I think they're out of Southern
Oh,
California.
yeah, no, it's amazing.
And we don't want to haul it down there.
Yeah,
And, they've already replaced the forestry heads. We got good mechanics here. It's great.
No, that's
I don't
awesome.
even worry about it. So if you guys want to see what the forestry hub looks like, I've got a worn out one.
To get them up.
And then that's a consumable. You're gonna wear that out.
Yeah, of course.
Doing all the impacting.
No, I just love hearing what we can do in-house.
Yeah. Good. Cool.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Well, good job, thank you, and I believe this is bringing an end to our agenda this evening.
No.
One more.
One, two more?
So
Go ahead.
I wanted to make a request for future. Is this the time when I can make a request for a future item?
No, item 4.
Up there.
So, Mary, could you consider either for December or January summarizing our safety record for the water district? So we're running a
Right.
20-person crew, $15 million, not including construction. Maybe we should roll in the construction because I think legally we're responsible for accidents on that. And my question is, this district has always said we want to be safe and a good place to be. And how are we doing? How's that matrix look? And I don't think it needs to be a big thing, but if it's something that the staff routinely, maybe each year, prepares and say, hey, here's how we're doing, because the board sets the policy for how much money we pay for training. We buy boots and shoes and protective gear. And I think that would be a good thing for us to look at. So there's my request.
I was gonna marry, if that's somehow, implied by the JPIA awards we get every year, the refunds for our good professionalism and lack of issues. You mentioned that each year, I guess we get some money back for being very safe as members of JPIA, is that right?
Not anymore because JPIA doesn't have that fund anymore.
They did.
They gave it all back.
And we gave it, we got it, we
We have-
have this time.
But we've received multiple awards
Yeah.
over the years, so with very low claims.
Yeah.
Workers' comp and other claims as well,
Yeah.
so we're,
I mean, that says it in a way that's hard to quantify. I mean, I understand it's the number of people and how many, but that's the bottom line is that we get money back for being really good at this. If I'm not, but they don't charge us more because we're not. That's
Well, they would if we did.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they would if we did it wrong.
yeah, we could summarize those.
But maybe-
Because we have kind of stepped up our emergency response activities and things, and so it's I think all good things.
I'm just thinking the year's drawing to an end and it's a reasonable time to kind of reflect. And it's also, I think, something that resonates back down to the team, that the board cares about how the safety is doing and that we want to know and to know stapler insurance.
Very good. So, moving on to item 8, director's agenda items, a request for future board meetings. I don't hear on future board meetings, December, will we be having a board meeting in December? Because we're early before Santa Claus and all that stuff, so we're good there. So we will move on at this point and convene a closed session. Adjourn the regular meeting at this time. Is that correct? Legal
Yes,
staff?
I'm happy to take us into closed session. It's now 8:30 and the board is going to convene into closed session pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.9 subsection B1. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, City of Camden et al. Versus 3M Company, case number 2-23-CIV-03147-RMG, and City of Camden et al. Versus E.I. DuPont, Dana Moores and Company, case number 2-23-CIV-03230-RMG, and we can now convene in closed session.
So we will continue on with staff has moved us into closed.
Recording stopped.
Okay.
What makes 3 meetings tonight, Mike?